The security forces in the country have started to mobilize to call off the demonstrations by strict patrolling on streets and checking cell phones of the protesters to warn them for the actions. A large number of demonstrators assembled and filled the streets in several regions of China, and this is what the police in some places use surveillances and techniques to frighten those who are opposing the strict zero COVID policy of the Communist Party. In some parts of China, protests have subsided due to the increased police presence, but strong demonstrations were seen in Shanghai, where demonstrators demanded the ouster of Xi 2 nights in a row. Tall barricades have entirely blocked the walkways and major protest venue, making it nearly impossible for masses to gather. Well, at this point of time, it is very important to note that previously the protest had, of course, taken a big shape when there were people who lost their lives in a building fire, when they could not escape because of the zero COVID policy, the strict restrictions in China. Ambassador Deepak Vora joins us on the broadcast, and foreign expert Sanjeev Srivastava is also with us. I start with Ambassador Vora on this. Ambassador Vora, how do you react to China's zero COVID policy and now strict actions against the people, the protesters who are demanding the resignation of Xi Jinping?
Thank you very much, ma'am. Always a pleasure to be on NewsX to learn from you. I see that you have the outstanding Shri Sanjay Srivastava there, as well as my colleague, Ambassador Suresh Goel. Their knowledge, their information, their analysis is far superior to mine, but thank you nevertheless. Communist China, forgive me, ma'am, give me a couple of minutes. Communist China sucks. It tells lies. Even when the Communist Party knows it is wrong, it will never acknowledge it. You talked of a zero COVID policy, leave COVID out. It's a zero policy. Let me remind you, perhaps Ambassador Goel will remember, 1956, 20th Congress of the Communist Party of Soviet Union. Nikita Khrushchev said that character Joseph Stalin was a terrible guy. He killed 20 million people, denounced him and said this is not communism. Fast forward to 2022. 20th Congress of the Chinese Communist Party. Khrushchev had said no cult of personality in communism. The Communist Party of China says only a cult of personality, and ping pong is the new god. This is what has damaged China beyond repair, because ping pong now begins to think that he is God on earth. There is one God, there may be one God who lives in heaven, but this character is God on earth. Now, what sparked this, ma'am? I have seen this before. 1968, again, Ambassador Goel will remember, I was in college at that time. There was this Czech student who was protesting social restrictions, set fire to himself. The Soviet army had to come in to suppress the revolt. 2010, a young Tunisian kid did the same. The Arab Spring was born. And 2022, who is leading these protests? It's youngsters. It's not people who are 71 years of age like me. It's kids who are leading it. Why? Unemployment, 22%. Buying an apartment beyond their reach, and you cannot get married in China unless you own an apartment. If you don't own an apartment, you're called a bare branch, which means that you're not going to be productive. Third thing, prices are rising. Fourth, they can't afford anything. And so this movement of lying flat and of let it rot, where people are saying we don't want to be part of this highly competitive system. This is the spark. Ma'am, ye chingari hai. The underlying causes are much deeper. China is in flames. Forget the police, whatever they do. How many will they shoot down? This is not 1989 Tiananmen Square, where there was no social media, were not as prominent as it is today. They could tell lies and get away with it. Not in 2022, 2023. This is the beginning of the end for Dingling, Tingling, whatever his name is. The sooner he goes, the better it'll be, not just for China, but for the whole world. Mr. Ping Pong, if you're listening to this, I know you hate me. Do the world a favor. Go away. These protests will not stop.
Right, Ambassador Vora, very well said there. I go to Mr. Sanjeev Srivastava, who's with us. Sanjeev Srivastava, there has been massive rage amongst the people in China. Revolt is going on, and again, strict action. Security forces have intensified the patrolling. They are being very strict towards the people. We know, we had reported that there were people who died in Shanghai because they could not escape this building which caught fire because of the strict restrictions by the Chinese government. How do you react to this? Because the people are clearly in a matter of crisis.
Certainly. First of all, very good morning to you. Good morning to my fellow distinguished panelists and to all the viewers, those who are watching this show. This China is behaving like in a totalitarian fashion. Xi Jinping is carrying out his totalitarian experiments over the Chinese society, which is obviously he's going to fail. And this kind of a protest demonstration must have given them a kind of alarm bell, and they cannot continue with this kind of a totalitarian policies in future. And I am seeing the reports that there are indications that the Chinese are now saying about moderating their zero COVID policy. And I think this is a clear sign that this China cannot dictate people's life, that they cannot control the people's life as they wish. And I think this kind of totalitarian experiments are going to be a great failure. I know, and they must moderate their behavior. They have no other option but to moderate their behavior, because we are living in the third decade of the 21st century. This is not 1989. And the world has changed. The world is interconnected. Chinese people are aware people. They know what's happening around the world. They know what is going on in Iran. They know that what has gone on in Arab Spring from in 2010, 2012, where at least 4 heads of states had to step down, including Hosni Mubarak of a long ruling Hosni Mubarak of Egypt. So I think Chinese people are no exception. They cannot be bullied. They cannot be suppressed forever. And if Xi Jinping thinks that he can remain president till entire his life by adopting this kind of totalitarian measures, I think he's going to be failing in his wishes. And this is a clear indication that Chinese authorities must moderate their behavior. Otherwise, they are going to have a tough time, troubled times. Already, they are having troubled times on their economic front. 3% and less their economic growth is at this moment. And obviously, China's international image has really dented because of their behavior during the Corona pandemic time. From the very beginning of Corona, by suppressing the information of Corona, to having authoritarian and policies during the entire pandemic period, China has exposed itself before the international community. So I think China has no other option but to moderate their behavior. They must review their so-called zero COVID policy, and must behave properly with their own citizens. Otherwise, Xi Jinping's regime and his wish to rule China entire life, I think that is not going to be fulfilled, and he might have to go down.
Right, Ambassador Goel is also with us on the broadcast. Ambassador Goel, thank you for being with us. And what are your reactions when it comes to this particular, sufferings of people in China, and Xi Jinping at this point of time not, paying any heed to the sufferings of people?
Thank you very much, Riyank. What do I say after the comments from my fellow panelists? Ambassador Deepak Pora, who I've known rather well over my full generation, really, ever since I came into the picture, and Mr. Sanjeev Srivastava. They have introduced a lot of optimism on this discussion that Xi Jinping is about to go, China is going to change, will change, etc., etc. They didn't mention democracy, of course, but that's things will change, China will become more democratic, more liberal, etc. I wish it would happen, really. I wish I could be that optimistic. So I thought that what I would do is make a reality check, really, in China. There would be a change if there are options in China. At the moment, I don't see any political options in China. Maybe they will develop over time. If you have to think of the parties, the political groups in China, you can't think of anyone else but the CPC. Good or bad, whatever it is there. There is no other challenge to the government there in China. Yes, within the CPC, if things go bad and they think of making a change, there are always ways to make a change within the CPC. And CPC at the moment may think of itself as Xi Jinping. But if the hope is that Xi Jinping will go, I think so far Xi Jinping is not a question of liking him or not liking him, but it's a question of evaluating his political shrewdness and the way he manages situation in China. I think so far the way he has managed the different kinds of outbreaks. Think of Henan, the banking rights. I'm not even talking of Tiananmen, he was not there at that time. Think of Henan, think of Shanghai. Shanghai chief is now part of the standing committee or the Politburo. I think in this case also, a combination of relaxing or moderating the zero COVID policy along with a tough action on the protest might deliver the tricks. I'm saying might because nobody can be certain, absolutely certain in a political game. Let us see what happens.
Right.
Whether it gathers from the strong. Urumqi is the thing. The two factors which we need to watch out for is Urumqi, where there is already a separatist movement, and also the university Tsinghua and and Fujian, which are actually the key institutions and from where various political movements have begun. Tsinghua was also in the forefront in 1989 during Tiananmen protest. So let us watch out for those two, what happens there, and then we will know whether they will grow further or Xi Jinping will be able to manage these.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.